Part 1. The Dawn's Vision. Our story begins with an orphan who dreams of the impossible. He saw himself in the judge's grand palace, betrothed to his daughter. He woke with a pounding heart and told his mother, "Mother, this girl is my destiny." His mother, fearing the judge's power, warned him, "My son, we are poor. The poor have no voice before a judge." The young man shook his head. His heart was set. He would pursue his dream, no matter the cost.
The young man, driven by love, approached the walnut seller, desperate to uncover his secret to success. But the merchant wept and said, "My son, I am not the one to help you. Seek the blacksmith who strikes once and runs to the end of the market." The young man sighed, thinking, "Every door I open leads to another that is closed." But his love for the judge's daughter was too strong. It gave him the strength to continue his impossible journey. And so, he set off once more, determined to find the mysterious blacksmith no matter the cost.
I arrived at the blacksmith's shop and saw him striking the iron with a single feng quang de blow. He ran madly to the end of the shop and came back, screaming. I greeted him and asked what the story was.
"You want me to tell you? Go to India and bring me news of the merchant who guards the ruby and throws it in the dirt."
The young man boarded the ship and battled the waves and the wind until he reached the land of India.
The young man went to the walnut cellar to learn his secret. With deep regret, the seller began to speak of his past. "I trusted my brother, giving him a magic horn that produces gold, but he betrayed me, stole it, and drove me away. Now I punish myself by selling walnuts to remember my foolishness every day." The young man thanked him, took a bag of walnuts, and returned home, his heart soaring with joy.
After years of hardship, the patient young man finally returned to his village, ready to change his mother's life forever. He built a palace for his mother and dressed in the finest silks, a true transformation from his days of struggle. With a grand procession that shook the earth, he rode to the judge's house, ready to tell his tale. The judge, moved by his story of incredible patience, declared him a true man of honor and worthy of his daughter's hand. And so, he lived in happiness, his story a timeless reminder that patience is indeed the key to relief.
The judge had grown old, his once steady hands now relying on a young man named Zain to uphold justice for the people. The judge told him, "He who endures the perils of the journey and understands betrayal and loyalty is worthy of keeping the people's trust." And so, Zain became the judge's right hand, his voice becoming the sound of truth and wisdom.
The young man stood before the judge with all his confidence. The judge laughed and said, "My son, I do not want gold or silver from you. Your dowry is experience. Go and bring me the story of the walnut seller who sells his walnuts by clapping his hands. And if you bring it, I swear as God is my witness, the girl is yours." He left his mother, placed his trust in God, and began his journey. His journey had begun.
The young man wouldn't give in. Night after night, the same dream haunted him, a vision of a life he couldn't have, until he finally broke his silence, issuing an ultimatum that would change everything.
"Mother, go to the judge and tell him to let me marry her. Otherwise, I leave this country, and you will never see my face again."
The mother's heart shattered. Her son's words were a knife, but she knew she had to act. Trembling with fear, she made her way to face the judge alone. This is where the true story begins. What would the judge say? Would he show mercy? The fate of their family now hung in the balance.
The mother went to the Qadi's house with a heart heavy and tears in her eyes. She knocked on the door and asked for help. The Qadi's wife saw her old clothes and, taking pity, gave her some wheat and flour. She ordered the servant to take it to her house as if she were a beggar asking for alms. Mother returned home crying, her tears staining her cheeks with the dust of the road.
"Look, my son, at what I have endured for your dreams. Forget about it."
The young man returned to the blacksmith and told him the merchant's tale. The blacksmith wept and revealed his secret. I was a simple blacksmith until a magical pigeon came and made me a sultan. But I was consumed by greed, and I wronged my wife. I struck her. In an instant, the pigeon took it all back, leaving me a poor man once again. Young man gave him a ruby to conceal his condition and bid him farewell, for fortune does not last for those who do not appreciate it. In India, he saw a palace whose doors were made of pure gold. Its owner, a mighty merchant, showed him a ruby, but at night he took his finest jewel, crushed it to dust and threw it in people's faces. The merchant welcomed him and said, "My son, I was once a rich merchant's son, but I lost all my money to bad companions and a treacherous wife who drove me away in my poverty."
The young man rode his camel, cutting through the deserts and valleys, on a quest for a secret lost to time. He arrived in Egypt and asked the storytellers in the coffee houses, but no one knew the secret. They told him, "This story is old, and only the elders of Iraq know it." So the traveler headed for Baghdad. In the heart of the city's market, he encountered a man selling walnuts. For every kilo a customer bought, the seller would give them a firm slap. What strange custom was this?
Welcome all! The celebrations lasted 7 long nights, and beauty filled the streets of the city. The young man, Zain, stood beside the judge's daughter, and people could hardly believe the poor man had become the lord of the palace. The dream he saw in his sleep had come true, a reality he could now touch with his own hands. The joy spread throughout his patient mother's house.
Part 15. The Ruby and the Silk. Zain sat, hand over hand, and took the ruby given to him by an Indian merchant. He opened a grand shop in the heart of the market and began to trade. He brought in goods from Iraq, Egypt, and India, and with the honesty and integrity he learned abroad, he became the most famous merchant in the land. His trade routes stretched to the ends of the earth.
The first thing Zain did after his marriage was build his mother a special wing in the palace. He furnished it with the finest types of silk from India. He said to her, "O mother, this is the fruit of your patience and your prayers in the dark nights." Mother began to live like a queen, with servants at her side, forgetting the days of toil and hardship.
But Zain did not drive them away. Instead, he ordered his servants to lay the finest carpets and serve the most magnificent food. They sat, eating and praising his generosity and noble origins. Zain was silent, watching them with the eyes of a wise man. He remembered the day he had asked them for help, and they had shut their doors in his face, telling him, "Begone, you poor man. You have no place among us." And so the story of Zain and the judge's daughter was told in every gathering. People said, "He who honors himself through his actions, God will honor with destiny." But this honor was hard won. Once, Zain was the butt of every joke, a man in rags. But when word spread of Zain's fortune, and that he had become master of the palace and its glory, the old faces began to show up. The same false friends who laughed at his rags now walked in his shadow. He stood at his door, begging for an audience, their faces stuck in a pretense of friendship, as if they had done nothing wrong. A year later, God blessed Zain with a beautiful son, like a moonbeam. He named him Saber, a testament to the patience that brought him here. Zain would sit with his son, sharing the wisdom of his own journey. He would tell him, "My son, the world is full of lessons. A man's worth is measured in his character, not his wealth." And so, they lived together in happiness and joy.
And that was our complete story, from poverty to wealth, and from injustice to justice. May it have pleased you, and may you have benefited from its lesson. Don't forget to support us, oh kind audience, till we meet in a new story, God willing. Peace be upon you.
They left, dragging the tales of despair and regret, knowing Zain was no longer that weak poor man, but a mountain unshaken by the wind.
Praise be to God, who has purified my heart from hatred, but the truth must be told.
Zain returned to his wife and mother, his spirit cleansed. From that day forward, no one dared to take advantage of his generosity without just cause.
After the meal was over, Zain took out the yakuta, the gem brought from India, and he crushed it before them until it became dust. They were stunned and said, "Zain, why waste such a treasure?" Zain laughed and said, "This dust is more honorable to me than your faces. The day I needed you, you sold me. And today you come for my money?